First microphone.
Peter Khan, I didn't have a question, but I'm a little confused. The topic is freezing North Korea's nuclear arsenal, but it looks like your answer is that it is not possible. But I understood that in recent events, since January nuclear test and February missile test and so on, I thought U.S. has finally waken up to deal with the North Korean problem instead of going back and forth between pressure and negotiation, wasting time, decades. I thought we are in the right approach, and suddenly you are telling me that we cannot accomplish anything. And as I have heard, I'm a little concerned about what you have been saying.
I didn't say either of those things. So the first thing is that the U.S. hasn't woken up. That's the first thing. And to put it in a very simple, straightforward way, you're not going to see the freeze under the Obama administration. It's just not going to happen.
You're basically saying that you should follow North Korea's approach of peace agreement or some kind of.
No, I'm saying first that it's not going to happen under the Obama administration. Secondly, if you think, and I would tend to agree, that a freeze is certainly a useful first step in dealing with the North Koreans, if you think that, then we have to get real about it. It's not going to be easy to secure. The only way you're going to secure it is by dealing with core security concerns on both sides, including theirs. You're not going to be able to give them 100,000 tons of food aid and they're going to freeze everything. Not going to happen. So it's worthwhile, but I think we have to be realistic about what it will take to secure that goal.
Larry?
Yeah, that was fascinating, what you had to say. Thank you. Before I ask my question, if I could just clarify one thing. I thought I heard you say something, but I wasn't quite clear about it. I thought you said you've been to North Korea a number of times. So I have a two-part question. The first part is, how is that possible? That you're able to go to North Korea and see what you're seeing? We hear through the news and all sorts of stories and warnings. So the fact that you said you've been there and come back, that you've been there, it's confusing to me. The second part is I definitely heard you say that you've had discussions or talks with North Koreans in Europe. And my question there is, if you could just bring this down to a personal level for a moment, because for the past 4 hours we've been discussing this at a governmental and a policy level. So I'm just curious, how do you start a conversation?
Don't discuss politics. That's how you start.
Over the past 4 hours, the word threat has been stated in this room, I don't know, hundreds of times. So I'm just curious, what is it like?
It's a good question.
For you personally to talk to North Koreans, and then finally, how does that mesh with everything that's been talked about today?
Okay, those are very good questions. I've missed what has come before me, so I'm not sure I can answer the last one. Although I've been through many Washington discussions where it's very clear that people wouldn't know in North Korea if they tripped over one. So I'm not saying that's here, but I understand why you're asking that. How's it possible to go there? Well, I was a U.S. government official from 1993 until 2002. And during that time period, I went there many times because we had the agreed framework in place and we were working with North Koreans to implement the agreement. So I visited nuclear facilities, secret nuclear facilities, where the military wouldn't even let their foreign ministry in. They let an American in. We had Americans stationed at the Yongbyon nuclear facility, helping store spent fuel rods that had fissile material for nuclear weapons in them. We had a lot of other activities inside North Korea that I was supposedly overseeing. So, and since I left government, I've been there, I guess, 3 times, the latest in 2011 before Kim Jong-il died. In addition, we've had, as I said, discussions with North Koreans in various places around the world. The most recent one in Europe. These are North Korean government officials, including the one who was just made foreign minister. So, contrary to what the State Department keeps telling us, the participants in these meetings, they keep telling us these North Koreans don't count for anything. He counted for something, obviously. He's foreign minister. He's also an alternate Pollock member. So, in terms of the personal level, it's a good question, you know, because you're trying to imagine, well, what's it like doing business with a North Korean? And the ones I know are sophisticated, speak English, understand the world, certainly understand the United States very well. This is not shocking. Some of the most sophisticated people in the Soviet Union were KGB people who knew the world. This will sound strange, but you know, I've known some of these people for 20 years, so we have a certain relationship. We've done business before. We know each other well. In that context, it's not so hard to have the kinds of conversations I'm talking about. There are things you don't discuss, which is, of course, you know, their political system, their authoritarian regime. You can discuss human rights. You're not going to get anywhere, but you can discuss it. So it's not that complicated as long as you're focused on substance. Then you can actually learn things. And they learn things from us too. And you can think about different possible solutions. I don't know how it meshes with what went on today. Honestly, I missed most of it. So, sorry.
Thank you, Larry. You're very good.
Does that, I'm sorry, does that answer your question? I mean, it's not unlike people meeting Soviets during the Cold War. You know, I mean, same thing, authoritarian regime. What's it like talking to these people? Lots of American scientists met with Soviets and established relationships and had discussions.
Thank you, Jay.
That particular angle, I mean, personally, I've never heard about that angle at all. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
I've seen like
I'm not surprised.
Trump
You're shocked.
over there, you know, that video's floated around quite a lot, and that's interesting.
Which, I'm sorry.
The Harlem Globetrotters or something.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
You know,
Or Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman, you know.
That's different.
Well, yeah, I think that. But, I mean, you know, just from my perspective, you know, we don't hear too much about what it's like to have those.
I mean, and I don't.
Secretary of State in 2000 went to
Yeah, Madeline Albright. I mean, I don't want to sound naive, gullible, you know, silly, but it's part of, in order to deal with the North Koreans, you have to understand them. And of course, you always keep in mind your own national interests as you're doing that, just as they keep in mind their national interests.
Okay, Jay?
we supposed to go on at 4:30 or is it 5?
I think we've gone overtime.
No.
Maybe,
We've asked it to 5 o'clock.
Okay, speak up.
Okay. You mentioned that the architect of that is Glenn Hicks. Now, actually, I completely subscribe to your 5 myths. But one of the first recommendations.
Speak your microphone, please.
Okay. I completely subscribe to your 5 myths about natural thinking, etc. But today's featured speaker, Admiral Harris, he makes the observation that the North Korea remains or is the America's greatest security threat. Now, that doesn't seem to jive with your first recommendation. The U.S. government makes the foreign policy objective, the first one, to pay more attention to the North Korea. Now, I'm sure he has different views about that, but
no, I don't disagree with that.
yeah, I think the fundamental issues, Mr. Hosei and you, if the strategic objectives of North Korea is indeed 청화통일, not just the American survival, unification on these terms, we're really in bad shape here, don't you think?
Okay, thank you, Jay.
I don't disagree with what, I didn't hear what the Admiral said, but I could probably predict what he said. I don't disagree with the fact that they are a serious threat. Whether they're the greatest threat to the United States or not, I don't know. I think Russia's equal, if not more, in the Pacific. Okay. That's why, of course, we need to do all the other things I was talking about. The military steps to reassure our allies, to strengthen our alliances, the sanctions. When the North Koreans do something they shouldn't do, we should impose sanctions. All I'm saying is that if you have a strategy, those two things they're necessary but not sufficient. And so what part of our strategy should be is diplomacy to figure out if there are ways to lessen the threat, combining diplomacy with these other measures. Of course, in the United States, nowadays diplomacy is not seen as a useful thing to do, but my experience is that it can be productive under the right circumstances.
Well, thank you. Okay, Rudolph? Okay. Now, without any further ado, let's give Joe a few Now the meeting is adjourned by the phone. Joe? This is a small. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, oh, great. Sure. Okay, then we have this.
Baseball cap?
This is our logo. Okay, great.